Welcome to the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sharits, and this is the Way Out. We are intensive outpatient program in the Santa Clarita Valley for adolescents, adults, and their families, located on the corner of Plum Canyon and Bouquet Canyon, and our phone number is 296-4444. Remember that asking for help is the first step, and if you are tuning into the show today and you or someone you know or a family member needs some help, please make the call. If not to us, reach out to somebody, whether it's your teacher, your friend, your clergyman, whoever. Reach out to somebody, because asking for help is where it all begins. And again, our phone number is 296-4444. You can also make appointments with us on our website for confidential assessment, and we are at thewayoutrocoveryscv.com. So go ahead and log on there, and you can make an appointment with us for a free confidential assessment for yourself or someone you know. Every Monday we come in here and I give people an opportunity to get grateful. I think it's really important for us to take the time in our lives to sit and reflect upon the things that are good, the things that are happening in our lives. Because we can sit at a Monday and think about, oh my gosh, I got all this stuff to tackle this week, and get really overwhelmed. And Mondays don't have to be a big deal. In fact, they can be an opportunity for us to look at this big, beautiful week that's sitting in front of us and all the wonderful opportunities we are going to have to help people, to interact with people, and to just enjoy this thing called life that's sitting in front of us. So if you haven't taken a moment to get grateful, why don't you do that right now? Take a little minute, think about the things in your life that you love, that you can be grateful for, and enjoy this week that's coming up. I am really, really, really excited about our guest that's in studio with us today. We have marriage and family therapist and also program manager over at the Child Family Center, Charity Wabuke. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much, Bob. Thank you for having me.
We, since we've opened our doors at the Way Out Recovery, we've made a promise to Santa Clarita that anybody that walks through our door, whether we can provide services to them or not, we will find some place for them to fit into. And so I was really, really excited when a month ago, Child and Family Center announced that they now have a substance abuse Medi-Cal program for adolescents and young adults.
Yes.
When did you get that contract?
We officially got it in July, and we have been working hard on our program. And as of September, we have launched this program, and we are able to provide services for adolescents ages 12 to 17, as well as young adults ages 18 to 25.
That is really, really exciting because, what's happened in the last several years is that because of the Affordable Care Act, a lot more people have insurance, right? So the doors have opened up for people to have insurance, but not all of, insurance is a very interesting and tricky sort of animal, right?
Exactly.
Like you got to have the right insurance with the right coverage and the right policy and all this to access some of the wonderful services that are out there. So what's happened in the last several years is although many people have been afforded insurance, a lot of that insurance is specialized, like Medi-Cal or LA Care or Molina or all these different ones, right? And a lot of programs are not necessarily able to access getting paid by those insurance companies. But Drug Medi-Cal has changed. Have they changed the structure of what's happening or the policy? I mean, what have the changes been in Medi-Cal over the last couple of years?
Changes have been significant, and what makes Drug Medi-Cal program that we're running really unique is the types of services that clients will be able to access. For example, historically, the substance abuse program has pretty much been group driven, but because of the changes that came out effective July 1st for Drug Medi-Cal, clients, in addition to getting groups, they're able to do individual treatment, family treatment, crisis treatment, stabilization treatment, as well as aftercare services services, because we all know that, once the client successfully completes a program, that doesn't mean treatment stops.
Right.
And so part of the commitment that Drug Medi-Cal has, and we at Child and Family Center are really excited about this, is to offer what we call recovery support services. So that will really allow the clients to get reacclimated back into their home community life and to really get them linked up to positive resources that they can continue to use and implement as they work on their sobriety.
Well, it's wonderful to hear all those different avenues of treatment that have opened up as a result of the new Medi-Cal changes, because it's not a one size fits all.
Correct.
And everybody's not going to just plug into a group. We our doors over at the Way Out have been open for about 6 months, and same thing. What kind of services can we provide that's going to help the clients in the most positive way? And it has to include individuals. It has to include family. It has to include group. It has to include the aftercare services. All that stuff is necessary.
Exactly. And you brought up a great point about one size does not fit all. And so it really does begin with the individualized assessment that each client will receive upon even figuring out what's going to be the best course of action. Another great thing about the Drug Medi-Cal Waiver is the amount of services per week clients are able to receive. So it's not just a 50-minute once a week treatment anymore. Individuals can either receive up to 6 hours worth of services per week, or in some instances up to 9 hours worth of services per week. So it really starts with even working with the client to identify what is their relationship with substances, what are their goals for being in this substance program, and then what are the services that we can offer that will be in alignment with their overall treatment goals.
And you have so your program is 12. It's 12 years old up to, what are the young adults? What's it?
12 to 17.
12 to 17, and then
18 to 25.
So, but those are two different populations right there.
Exactly.
And so the assessment coming in. Let's just talk about the difference between those two. What are we looking for when we get a teenager that comes in versus a young adult?
So with teenagers, we definitely want to look at, when did they start using? How are they gaining access to substances? How often are they using? How are they even paying for the substances? Because I don't know about you, but I don't know a lot of 12 or 13-year-olds that have full-time paying jobs that would be able to support a possible, substance addiction.
Right.
And so those are things that we're looking at. We're definitely looking at the family. What's a family life like? What are stressors? And for the assessment, we're in alignment with the ASAM criteria. So we look at the 6 main dimensions about how substances has possibly impacted a client's life.
Oh, and I love to hear that because just to clarify, ASAM is the American Society of Addiction Medicine.
Yes.
Several years ago, when assessments and treatment plans were built inside of the world of substance abuse treatment, it really was looking at specific problems. So you had a problematic area, right? You had this kid's having trouble with the legal system. Mm-hmm. So that was a whole category on its own. Mm-hmm. How do we look at that? ASAM, the ASAM has opened up into what they call the multidimensional assessments. So you have 6 different assessments that kind of overlap with each other. And what we're looking at is more of an area of someone's life rather than a specific problem.
Exactly.
It's a much more well-rounded assessment, and I love to hear that you guys are using it because it is really the changing face of addiction treatment and substance abuse treatment. And some treatment centers aren't on board with that yet. They're still using the old stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's really nice to hear that because it gives us such a broader spectrum to work inside of,
and
right?
it helps us understand the clients from a more well-rounded approach, as opposed to exactly what you had identified, a specific area, but now we can really look at the different dimensions and how substances is impacting those different dimensions in a client's life.
Well, and so just real quick to break that down is, dimension 1, substance use history, and it's not just how much are you using, when did you start, right?
No.
Because, and this is purely an example, but if you and I are both smoking the same amount of cannabis on a daily basis, the way that it impacts you and the effect that you get from it is going to be different than the effect that I get from it.
Exactly.
So to just put, this client uses 1 gram of cannabis daily doesn't really say much.
Exactly.
Right? Like, what's the effect? How much is it impacting your school? How much is it impacting your daily life? That sort of thing. And then for I want to use the word crisis, but when we do a dimensional assessment, one of the first things that we're looking for is like immediate concerns that might be life-threatening, right?
Yes. We're
So
always
like in
assessing for
Dimension 2 is
crisis.
medical.
Yes. So any medical conditions that the client has that might be as a result from using substances. And once again, going back to what you just previously mentioned, substances impact people differently. So if we're using the exact same amount of a particular substance, I might have different medical issues than you might have, from that use of that particular substance.
Right. And you guys have, so I noticed on the criteria for admission to the program that medical clearance is
Yes.
one of the criteria, right? Do you guys have doctors that you work with, or do you send people to their existing doctors? How does that work
We have
right there?
both because we really want to be able to meet the clients with where they're at. So if they have a primary healthcare physician, we encourage them to go to their primary healthcare physician, and it's just to get a physical clearance. So as long as it's within the past 12 months, they're that's what we require. If they come to us and they haven't done that yet, we're not going to turn them away.
Right.
We're still going to work with them, and we ask for that physical clearance to happen within the first 30 days of treatment. And if they don't have a primary health care physician, we're always more than welcome to make that linkage and referral through our case management to find them a doctor.
The more and more we talk, I'm really getting more excited about, our promise to the community is to provide high quality treatment. And any referrals that we give and any organizations that we work with, one of the things that we do internally is we kind of we have these conversations to determine whether or not there's high quality that's being provided. And as you're talking, I'm thinking to myself, that's exactly what we do. So it's really cool to be able to refer clients to to your program, knowing that they're getting that kind of care. A lot of people overlook simple things, and I don't know if it's simple, but simple things like, when's the last time you had a medical examination?
Right.
When's the last time you went and had a physical examination? And we will get, even 15, 16-year-olds will come in and go, gosh, I haven't had one since they made me have one in school way back when or whatever, right? And so it's one of the most important pieces.
And it's something that, people just really don't think about. And once again, going back to we really are treating the whole person instead of just bits and pieces of it. And medical history it's really important to understand and to get that piece of history as well.
Well, it impacts, I think more and more people understand this, but there's like a sort of a holistic viewpoint where when you're treating someone and you don't look at all the pieces, you're really missing the point. Because if I come in and I have diabetes and I don't take care of that very well because of my drug and alcohol use, everything is everything. Everything is going to play a part in everything else. And if I'm not feeling good physically, my mental capacity is going to be lessened. My emotions are going to be impacted. Everything is going to be impacted. So it's very important. In Dimension 3 in that ASAM is cognitive, behavioral, and emotional, right?
The mental health.
And so you guys so I've always thought of Child and Family Center as almost primary mental health, right?
Yes.
And you guys have been open since what, 1976?
Mm-hmm.
Long time, right? And so you have practitioners that already are looking at mental health and cognitive and behavioral and all those different things, right? So you have psychiatrists on staff and things like that?
Yes, we have a team of psychiatrists that do that as well. And what's really unique about our program is the clinicians that I work with, we do co-occurring. So we're treating both mental health and substance use at the same time. Right. And I think that's been a really big shift because a lot of, people in the past have looked at substance and mental health separately. separately, but more and more research is supporting that there's a distinct connection between mental health and substances. And not to minimize substance use at all, but substances could be a coping skill that a client is implementing. Now, it's not a positive coping skill, but it's definitely a coping skill. And so Dimension 3 focuses and identifies exactly that. What are the cognitive behavioral signs and symptoms that this client might be demonstrating as well?
Well, and I think that's really, really important. Let's spend a couple of minutes there because you hear that term co-occurring, and I think the general population doesn't really, they're not versed in the clinical terminology that we use on a regular basis. But what we're talking about is at least two, maybe multiple simultaneous issues going on that could be mental health, substance abuse, physical, a bunch of different stuff that is co-occurring at the same time. And traditionally, treatment centers and practitioners have looked at those things separately.
Yes.
And what we're starting to really understand is that oftentimes drug and alcohol use can be what you call self-medicating behavior.
Correct.
Where there may be an underlying mental health issue. You may have a kid come in that has depression or anxiety or ADHD or any other, other mental health issues. And what happens is they get however they start using drugs, the drug has an impact on that mental health, which makes the brain feel like, oh, this works for me. Smoking a little weed brings my anxiety down, or in some cases with ADHD, where they might gravitate towards stimulants, because somebody who has ADHD, a stimulant will sort of normalize that, brain. And what the brain does is says, oh, this is good medicine. Let's keep doing this.
Yep.
And then it becomes, then the substance abuse becomes a problem in and of itself.
Exactly.
And so to try to differentiate those two things and treat them simultaneously is a very big deal.
It's a big deal and it's challenging, but that's, one of the, many skills and qualifications that my team at Child and Family Center has. And they are trained to identify both and to address both. So it's not paying attention to substance use and forgetting mental health, but really looking at them together and really understanding what's driving the other. So, for example, using your, going back to depression. So if a client is, depressed, but they might be self-medicating or just using alcohol, let's say, because alcohol is
That always, hold on one second, that's really common right there. But it always fascinates me because alcohol is a depressant.
Exactly. But that is a common one that we see all the time.
Yeah.
And so to really understand and to really help the client understand, why are they turning to alcohol? And so first of all, understanding the relationship that the client or individual has with substances, and then working with them, at the same time about their symptoms of depression and working to change, the behaviors when it comes to depression and really understand, so what is driving the depression? And then what are some positive coping skills that we can implement to work with the individuals to help reduce their signs and symptoms of depression.
Right. And there's education that goes along with, in the world of mental health, there are some really, really effective medications out there that can help treat short-term or long-term, depending on the person, of course. Everybody's individual. But being able to do some education on, say, an anti-anxiety medication. So you have somebody that comes in and they have substance abuse issues, and they also have severe anxiety, and we're trying to treat that with something that could potentially become an addictive issue, right? You can see already just by saying that how tricky that can be.
Absolutely. And that is definitely some pushback we get from parents more so about they feel that we're just trading one drug for another drug. And so that's where really psychoeducation comes in about the difference between drugs versus the prescribed medication that is identified in your example for anxiety as well. And one of the biggest differences, obviously, is drugs. You feel the effects immediately, but with psychotropic medication, it's going to take time, because you want to find that right balance, that will alleviate the symptoms that the individual is presenting with.
So you mean to tell me that you get clients and families that come in and they want it fixed right now?
Absolutely.
Like yesterday?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I say that, I'm certainly not joking about that, and I'm not minimizing or trying to make light of that at all, because it's a very serious issue. But, in the world of recovery, I think that is the biggest challenge with the patient or the client, is being able to say, look, if you practice these things,
right,
exercise, meditation, eating right, all these things, and you keep practicing these, you will feel better. But it's not happening in an hour.
It's going to take time.
Right.
They didn't get to where they were overnight, and they're not going to get to where they want to be overnight as well. Yeah,
but isn't it wonderful when you get somebody who will commit to doing a new practice, a new healthy practice? Okay, let's take away the drugs, and especially the younger, especially when it's teenagers, because when they have those sort of aha moments where they realize, oh my God, it's working, and they come in and share that with the clinicians or with the other group members. Isn't that wonderful?
That is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's why we do this, right?
Absolutely.
Improving lives one person at a time, one family at a time, man. It's really just wonderful stuff. So we're going to take a break right now. We're going to come back and specifically try to break down the difference in really, I think, in working with families of young adults versus adolescents. Okay. And let's look at that a little bit when we come back, because it's just wonderful stuff. This is the Way Out Recovery Hour. I will be right back in a few minutes.
Pumpkins are back in Santa Clarita, just a short ride up Bouquet Canyon. Introducing the Gilchrist Farm Harvest Festival and Pumpkin Patch, with pumpkins, and more pumpkins. Open from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. daily in October, the festival is full of pony rides, farm animals, live entertainment, farm crafts, and pig races. Book your professional photo session in the pumpkin patch. Learn how to milk a goat, gather eggs, and best of all, pick your perfect Halloween pumpkin. Nostalgia's returned to Santa Clarita. It's now at Gilchrist Farm. GilchristFarm.com.
A royal suite.
For the first time in their history, 50% off everything in the store. It's the huge 40th anniversary sale at a Royal Suite Home Furnishings. Everything, yes, everything is on sale at 50% off. Bedrooms, dining rooms, living rooms, recliners, and Murphy beds, all 50% off. Even their huge selection of mattresses from Diamond and Englander. See their new line of adjustable beds at 50% off. Nothing will be held back. Every item from every manufacturer. Hurry, only 2 days left. Everything 50% off. At the big 40th anniversary sale at a Royal Suite Home Furnishings in Center Point across from Sam's Club, or at aroyalsuite.com.
Doing right starts right here. At Union Bank, community banking is at the heart of what we do. From giving customers more convenient access to their money to financing their homes here in the neighborhood. Union Bank believes in acting locally. We also believe that investing in local businesses helps everyone. For over 150 years, Union Bank has grown strong, one community at a time. We live here, we do business here, and we're here for you. Stop by your local branch today to experience the strength of community banking. There are 3 Union Bank branches conveniently located in the Santa Clarita and Antelope Valley area. To find your nearest branch, visit unionbank.com. Loan subject to credit and collateral approval. Financing available for collateral located in California, Oregon, and Washington. Fees and restrictions may apply. Terms and conditions subject to change. MUFG Union Bank N.A. member FDIC equal housing lender. Union Bank is a registered trademark and brand name of MUFG Union Bank N.A.
Looking for a fun day with the kids? Visit Ice Station Valencia. With 3 rinks, Ice Station offers every type of skating program imaginable, from ice hockey and figure skating to public skating sessions every day. Ice Station is a great place to bring a group, so ask about our special group rates. Our glass-enclosed restaurant, The Grill, offers a scrumptious array of tasty snacks and entrees. For info, call 775-8686 or skate to the net, www.icestation.net. Ice Station Valencia, right across the street from Valencia High School.
Drugs or alcohol abuse can tear a family apart. In Santa Clarita, just like everywhere else, it's an epidemic. The Way Out Recovery is here to help. Call them now at 296-4444 or visit them on the web at thewayoutrocoveryscv.com. The Way Out offers outpatient treatment for adolescents, adults, and family members. The Way Out is compassionate, caring, professional, and confidential. You and your family don't have to suffer any longer. Call The Way Out Recovery now, 296-4444, or visit thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com and make an appointment. Asking for help is the first step.
Your hometown station, KHTS.
We fought so hard, now we gotta get back what we lost. I thought you'd go, but you were with me all along.
Welcome back to the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sharits, and I am in studio today with Charity Wabuke, marriage family therapist, and also program manager of the new Drug Medi-Cal program that just opened up in September at Child and Family Center. Child and Family Center has been around since 1976, but this piece of the substance abuse specific program for adolescents 12 to 17 years old and adults 18 to 25 years old, because of the changes in Medi-Cal protocol over the last year, have now opened up and be able to provide services to those individuals and their families, which is really, really neat, you know. God, this has been a great time so far already. We've had some really cool topics, you know. Transitional age youth is what they've traditionally called that age group, right? 18 to 25.
Yes.
So, you know, college age kids, if you're in that age group and don't get offended, I call you a kid. I'm kind of, you know, but transitional age youth, you know, I think is one of the, I don't want to say toughest or most difficult, but certainly challenging populations to work with.
And they definitely have their own set of unique challenges.
Right.
And even
That's a much better way to put it. Unique challenges. I'm like, frustrating. No.
And even looking back to our own time, like when I was 18 to 25, you know, right. And kind of going through that transition of leaving home for the first time, or maybe staying at home while I'm going to college, trying to become more independent. Maybe you're buying your first car, getting your first full-time job, trying to balance life in a different way than it was when you were a kid. So it's definitely its own set of unique challenges during that 18 to 25-year-old age range.
Well, and everybody's unique, but I'm, you know, as you're saying that, I'm thinking, you know, by law, like I'm 17 one day and I'm 18 the next, and suddenly because of that birthday, things, you know, it makes things are expected to be different, but that it's a transition.
Exactly.
It really is a transition. And whether that age group is going to college or not going to college, looking, you know, their first serious maybe careers or jobs, sometimes first serious relationships take place in that age group right there. There's a lot of stressors in trying to gain my independence, but still have that relationship with my caregivers or my parents, and what does that look like? And I'm not sure about this, but what it looks like is that more people in that age group are now, it's like we're living with our parents longer than we used to. Yes. And I think that's, you know, I haven't seen any studies on that, although I probably could just look them up. But it seems like that. Like there's more and more 25-year-olds that are coming in that are living with their parents, which is fine, but now we come into now there's a substance abuse that's identified in that.
Yep. And so you have the battle of, I live at home, I'm an adult, but I might be using, and so therefore I'm still under my parents' rules of the house.
Right.
And so it's a lot of the communication, as well as how do they exert their own independence in different areas of their life while still having to adhere to or, you know, take into consideration the rules of the house.
Yeah. And so, you know, here's another common scenario with families that we work at, particularly in that age group. In today's unfortunate time of drug epidemic, not specifically opiates, but a lot of opiates are being talked about, prescription medications. The drugs that are out there, I think, in some respect, are far more dangerous than the drugs that used to be out there. Well, maybe that's not the case, but opiates are a lot more popular now.
Absolutely.
And so there are many, many young people in that age group that are overdosing, that are dying, that are having serious and severe consequences. And they're doing that at 18, 19, 20 years old while still living in their parents' homes. Mm-hmm. And then you come into a treatment program and you have the parents on board. And because of the issues that have happened, parents are on high alert. They're in protective mode. That's my kid. And they sort of are like watching every move. And then you have a kid who's 18, 19, 20 years old and that going, I want my independence.
Right.
Makes it a whole lot tougher.
It does. And so the first part of, engagement is building that rapport and to really find a way of connecting with not only the individual, but also the parent as well. So it doesn't become a us against them type mentality. But once we're able to really connect with the young adult in a way where we meet them where they're at, if they right now are not in that place to say, yes, I want to stop using, okay, we're going to meet you where you're at. We're not going to obviously promote using substances, but we're not going to, it's not going to be to anyone's benefit if it becomes a power struggle. So it's really key and really important to form that partnership and that alignment with that individual.
Well, and sometimes, and then comes in the work with the parents. If the parents are like, well, wait a minute, we want them to stop everything. Okay, let's talk about that. If they're at a place where they're using some so-called hardcore drugs and maybe smoking some marijuana, and they go, look, I'm not going to do heroin anymore. I'm cool with that. We'll stop doing all that. But I really am going to struggle with stopping smoking pot, right? And the parents are like hard and fast, nope, absolutely nothing. Some of the work in there is going to be, if the parents, we can't, we promote setting healthy boundaries.
Yes.
We absolutely promote mean what you say and stick by it. Mm-hmm. If you are a parent in that scenario and you have made a decision that it is zero tolerance in my house, we will, as clinicians, support that 100%. But how do we get that without it being a power struggle? How do we open that conversation with your 19-year-old and have it be their decision?
That's a really great question, Bob, and it kind of speaks to one of our methods of treatment approaches that we implement. And one of them is motivational interviewing. And what motivational interviewing is all about, it really works with the individual to identify where are they on the stages of change. Mm-hmm. And it's getting that individual to that place of, first of all, properly identifying. And for those of you who are not familiar with motivational interviewing, there's about 5 different stages, and it starts with even that pre-contemplation. So sometimes in that scenario you're talking about, the parent identifies that it's a problem, but the individual says it's not a problem in my life. And so, okay, well, if that's where you're at, we're going to meet you there, but now we're going to do that work in that pre-contemplation stage. And so we might work with them to make lists of what are the pros and cons of using. What does it cost you? What has it gotten you? How has it impacted, if it's that relationship with mom and dad? How has it impacted your daily functioning? And then there's a contemplation stage where clients are at that place where they realize that they have a problem, but they're contemplating what do they want to do about it? Do they want to put a plan into place, or do they want to continue on the path that they're on right now? And then where would that path lead them? Yeah. And then you have the individuals that have moved past the contemplation, and they're in the action and preparation stage. So these are the individuals who have identified, yes, I have a problem. Yes, it's definitely impacting if it's relationships, my social relationships, relationships with peers, with family, my ability to hold a job, keep a job, my ability to function in school, and they have set a reasonable goals, and they're ready to start putting those goals into place. And then you have the individuals who the action stage, it sounds a lot easier than it is, because some individuals feel, okay, great, I have a plan and I'm going to put this plan in place, and they're looking for those immediate results. But this is where, sometimes you do see rapid changes, but change takes time. And so it's really, that ongoing partnership between the clinician and the individual in that action stage. And sometimes they have the best thought out plan, but it doesn't work. And that's okay. So we're going to go ahead and create a new plan, a different plan, or it might possibly be adjusting that current plan that they have. And then moving past the action is now the maintenance. So what is the maintenance that this individual needs to engage in to continue the results that they have seen?
Backslide. Yeah. Well, and I love the idea of, well, first of all, quick jump back to the ASAM dimension, assessments. Motivation for change or readiness to change is also one of the dimensions. And you're looking at that same place is, where is this client in all of that, right? And then I love the idea of motivational interview, which is the difference between this. The old style of treatment, not using motivational interview, somebody comes in and you say, okay, you have all these problems, here's what you're going to do. Where motivational interview says, let's sit down together and start looking at all the different areas of your life. And if you were to make some changes, what might that look like?
Exactly.
Let's have a back and forth about that. And it really is it's very empowering for a client to be able to take ownership of their stuff, right? So back to the scenario of the parent, parents say no, kid says, I'm not really sure. And in that, to be able to say to the kid, okay, what do those pros and cons look like? And are you ready to make the decision between this place to stay versus continued use?
Exactly.
And if not, what does that look like? Like, what's the plan?
It empowers the individual. Motivational interviewing is a lot about change talk, and it's strength-based. And so it's having the individual come to those conclusions and for them to be able to own the decision that they made. And sometimes it's not always going to be the best decision for them, and then that's where you go back and you rework that plan. You rework what it is that the individual decided to do. But the one thing I love about motivational interviewing is that, it really helps the client become an active participant in their recovery and in their program.
Yeah. And that's really, really important because, I don't think there's a person in the world that responds well to just being told what to do or else.
Right.
Right. And so you start to have a choice in that. And you use the word, like a strengths perspective. I love that. Even the writing of the new clinical manuals, like the Diagnostics and Statistics Manual 5, right? In the new diagnosis, it breaks down individual substances rather than just say substance use disorder, boom, one thing.
Exactly.
And because there's a lot of people who come in who are using, I almost think most that are using multiple drugs or certainly more than one. And they're not ready to make the same changes with both of those drugs. Like, I'm clear that I'm a heroin addict. I never want to do that again. But the pot smoking, not so much, right? And it allows us to be able to look at that. And you get somebody who's staying off those so-called harder drugs and they're still struggling, and a strengths perspective says, great job for being pointed in the right direction, getting off this stuff that might immediately kill you. And now let's start to look at the ambivalence over here, right?
Exactly.
And working with the parents in the middle of that and being able to set those healthy boundaries and allow a transitional age youth to find their own consequences.
It's a lot. It's a lot, but it's what we do. It's why we do what we do. Excuse me. And seeing the changes, that can come out of the work.
So let's look at the younger crowd for a second here. Teenagers. You had mentioned. What's interesting. I think it's I don't know if it's state law or federal law, but 12 years old, there's a legal difference between somebody that's under 12 in terms of treatment and somebody that's over 12. And so most programs that treat teenagers, adolescents, 12 years old is where they start.
Yes.
Same with us. And but the reality is that there's drug use that takes place prior to 12 years old. Let that sink in for a minute. And especially if you have kids or you work in a school or you interact with kids, take a moment to look at a 10-year-old today. How innocent, how small, how naive they might look or seem. There are 10-year-olds out there that are actively using drugs. You know, and that's what the world of drug use looks like. It starts very young sometimes. So you might get a 14-year-old in your program who's already been using on a regular basis for a couple of years.
Yep. And that's a sad reality.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth. And, you know, I have heard it, and I like to say it, that when we're working with teenagers act out in many different ways.
Yes.
It's not just drug use, right? What other issues do you guys come across as you're starting to do those assessments for in the drug program?
It might be acting out in school.
Okay.
So
Which can be an identifier if
it
you're
can
listening.
definitely be an
You know, yep.
identifier. How often are they getting suspended? Are they ditching? Are they missing school? Are they getting expelled?
Grades dropping.
Grades
Yep.
dropping, exactly. Some of the other acting out behaviors, you know, if there's siblings, and there's a difference between sibling rivalry, but then just having aggressive tendencies towards other siblings. And then on the exact extreme, isolation. So if you start noticing like behavior changing where, you know, maybe you have a son or daughter who is really involved in different after school activities, was always, you know, hanging around family, and then you start noticing them dropping out of activities and just isolating in their room a lot or just isolating in general, that's definitely something, you know, to be aware of and, you know, to call attention to.
Yeah, and you know, when you use the word being aware, just while we're here right now, for parents with teenagers, I think it's really, really important that there is a measure of transparency inside of a household. I think it's really, really dangerous that, especially once a teen has gotten into some behaviors that may not be very, you know, very healthy, to allow them to spend hours on end on their computers or iPads or whatever alone in their rooms. We as parents need to be aware of what they're looking at and what's going on in their social media and all that kind of stuff. And so being aware of what's happening in a teen's life. A lot of, I read somewhere, and now I've seen that it's true, and it may be longer, but by the time a parent notices or is aware of drug use going on with a teenager, the average is that it's been going on for a year and a half.
Absolutely. And I definitely encourage parents to start these conversations early. Some of the responses I've gotten from parents is that they're afraid if they talk to their kids about drugs, that's going to spike their curiosity and they're going to go out and use drugs. I can guarantee you, even like what Bob was talking about earlier, drugs are present, you know, in your kid's life in some way, shape, or form. Drugs are present on school campus in some way, shape, or form. You know, as a parent, educate yourself, educate your child, you know, start having those conversations early. And one of the biggest things I can encourage the parent is to explain the whys to the kid. If we just say no, like don't do drugs, that doesn't work. You know, kids nowadays, and, you know, I love this about them, they want to know the whys and understand the whys. So, you know, parents, if you are able to take that extra step and share with your son or daughter why they should not be using drugs and have these conversations on an ongoing basis with them.
There are many, many opportunities and teachable moments in this world that we live in. You know, for instance, my sons and I were doing something and we drove into the valley and we came off this off ramp, and off the side of it in between there was like a homeless camp going on in there, right? And one of the guys was up against the fence and he had a bottle of booze in his hand. He's drinking and kind of stumbling all over the place. And I have a 5 and an 8-year-old sons. And my older son asked me what's going on right there, and I explained to him. I said, look, that drinking right there may have something to do with why that guy lives in that box right there. And let's talk about that. And and my sons, we talk about alcoholism and drug addiction all the time. I think probably more openly than most people with 8 and 5-year-olds, but I think it's important for us to do that. And there are a lot of opportunities like that, and my son got to ask me about, it was interesting because it was the difference between, because I'm a recovering alcoholic myself. I've been sober for a very long time, but he didn't quite get that. Wait a minute, you're an alcoholic, and this guy, what's the difference there? And I got to explain to him what the recovery process and what the difference is there and what it looks like. And for parents, there are many opportunities for that.
Absolutely.
Open the newspaper, open your Facebook, open your stuff and look at it. And when you see something that involves drugs and alcohol, it happens all the time. Sit with your kids, and there's the whys, this certainly doesn't happen to everybody who picks up, smoking pot, but it happens to some.
Exactly.
And let's look at what that looks like. And as a parent, I love you, and I want to protect you, and I want to take care of you, and that's why, rather than like you're saying, no. And so working with teenagers, it's just, I had asked you out there before we came to the show, I go, did you purposely put yourself in a position where you work with teenagers? And I think you and I agree that they are just a wonderful, wonderful population to work with.
They are.
Yeah, you have to have a little different expectation than I think with adults, but if you can get in there and work with them, man, I love working with teens.
And they will teach you so much. Yeah. With teens, it's always about being curious about their world, never assuming anything. And as a clinician, my biggest question to my teens was why, or help me understand. And you'll be amazed at how much information you're going to learn about, teens. Well,
and I love that. And that's the shift that we teach to some of our parents is that, it's not always about us teaching them. They will teach you so much. Like you said, if you're just there and you're receptive and paying attention to it. So we're going to take a break right now. We will be back in a couple of moments. This is the Way Out Recovery.
On October 31st, the Church on the Way Santa Clarita is hosting an all-new block party. Come hang out with them anytime between 5 and 8 p.m. for yummy food trucks, giant inflatable games, a hay maze and rock wall, a toddler play area, and loads of candy. This is a free, family-friendly event, so don't leave anyone at home. For more information about the Church on the Way Santa Clarita, including service times and what's happening over the next few months, visit tcotwsc.org.
The big one is back. Circus Vargas, Circus Vargas, Circus Vargas. The biggest big top is back in town.
Circus Vargas presents their new mega hit production, Steam Cirque, onto the big top at the Valencia Town Center, October 26th through the 30th. Always the finest in live entertainment and fun for the entire family. See death-defying acrobats, daredevils, comedians, and much, much more. Arrive early for some interactive pre-show fun where your kids can be the circus stars. Discount coupons available at Camacho Auto Sales. Don't wait. Get your tickets now by calling 877-GOT-FUN-1 or visit them online at circusvargas.com. It's the ultimate entertainment extravaganza. Don't miss Steam Cirque at Circus Vargas for memories that last a lifetime.
The big one is back. Circus Vargas, Circus Vargas, Circus Vargas.
It isn't often when we see a company launch in Santa Clarita and become an international sensation. In 2010, Jen Gerard founded Whitening Lightning in her Valencia kitchen. Now it's a booming international sensation. Leading actresses and international models have switched to Whitening Lightning to avoid the mess, hassle, and sensitivity of other products. Whitening Lightning's simple Dial a Smile kit will dramatically turn your teeth whiter in just 20 minutes. Rediscover how white your teeth can look. Visit whiteninglightning.com. whiteninglightning.com.
A royal suite.
For the first time in their history, 50% off everything in the store. It's the huge 40th anniversary sale at a Royal Suite Home Furnishings. Everything, yes, everything is on sale at 50% off. Bedrooms, dining rooms, living rooms, recliners, and Murphy beds, all 50% off. Even their huge selection of mattresses from Diamond and Englander. See their new line of adjustable beds at 50% off. Nothing will be held back. Every item from every manufacturer. Hurry, only 2 days left. Everything 50% off. At the big 40th anniversary sale at a Royal Suite Home Furnishings in Center Point across from Sam's Club or at aroyalsuite.com.
Hometown.
I wanted to let you know that I really appreciate the way you guys do what you do.
Your hometown station.
We fought so hard, now we gotta get back what we lost.
Welcome back to the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sharits, in studio today with marriage family therapist Charity Wabuke from the Child and Family Center, also program manager of the new Drug Medi-Cal substance use program, 12 to 17-year-olds, and
18 to 25-year-olds.
18 to 25-year-olds. We are really, really excited to have this opening in Santa Clarita. Let's tell people how to get involved.
Absolutely.
Yep. How do they contact you?
Absolutely. So we at Child and Family Center are just so excited to have this opportunity to partner with the community of Santa Clarita and to be able to provide these services for our community. So there's a couple ways that you can get in touch with us. Our number for the Drug Medi-Cal Substance Use Treatment Program, it's area code 661-481-2801.
Let's give that to them one more time. 661-481-2801. Call directly for this program.
Yes. And our services, we see clients Monday through Saturdays. That's also a change as well. We're open on Saturdays as well from 9 to 5. And once again, it's about being able to meet the needs of the community because we understand that families work, kids go to school. And so just another way that we can serve our community is extending our hours. So we're now open Monday through Saturdays and 9 to 5 on Saturdays. And Wednesday, we're open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Fridays from 9 to 6.
Well, it's wonderful to be able to try to, a lot of what we do is try to take the obstacles to treatment out of the way. Mm-hmm. And when you offer flexible scheduling for your clientele, it really, really can make the difference. It can make the difference. It all starts with the assessment that you're talking about.
Absolutely.
So when you call that number again, 661-481-2801, it starts with meeting with the family and doing that full assessment and trying to get them the services that they need, correct?
Exactly.
Is there a website that we can go to as well?
The website is www.childfamilycenter.org.
So childfamilycenter.org, and you can look up the outpatient substance abuse treatment services. What is the name of the program specifically?
You just said it. It's the Outpatient Treatment Use Services.
Okay, for some reason I thought it was there was specifically named this program, but okay, great.
You got it. We kept it simple. Kept it simple.
Right. It is what it's titled, right? And it really, really opens up the world for those that haven't been able to access treatment because of insurance difficulties. Now there is an adolescent and young adult program that offers services for Medi-Cal for those with Medi-Cal, and that's beautiful.
And real quick, so just make sure that you guys do have Drug Medi-Cal coverage, or if you don't have it, if you're Medi-Cal eligible, still come talk with us. We'll help get you connected, as well as show proof of residency in the county of LA, and that's really the only requirements.
Great. And some other things that are going on in Child Family Center. I know we only have about a minute left. It's coming up, and I'll talk about it more as we get closer. Coming up in January of 2018, Youth Mental Health First Aid. So over the last couple of years, there have been a few different places. One that comes to mind is the Health and Wellness Center at College of the Canyons that have offered what is called mental health first aid. We believe, and so do a lot of organizations, that everybody should be versed in the basic first aid of specific to mental health. Signs and symptoms, what to do if you notice, what depression looks like, anxiety looks like, schizophrenia, all the different disorders, and who to call and how to get help. And so there is, it says free. I was going to say assuming free, but it says so.
Is.
Youth Mental Health First Aid free class January 10th, 2018. Mark your calendars. A couple of other things, and you can find this on the website at childfamilycenter.org. Right? childfamilycenter.org. Free groups that are open to the community. Empowered Parents of Teens, Agree to Disagree, Managing Anger, Break the Cycle, Empowering Youth to End Domestic Violence, My Family Safety Education Skills Group, Creative Arts Group. I wish we had more time. We could sit here and talk about this wonderful topic all day long. But thank you, Charity, for being in studio with me today. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you, Bob, for having me.
This is the Way Out Recovery Hour, and we'll be back for everyone next Monday.